3 shocking revelations from God. Your life is about to change forever. Are you ready? The sky roared with thunder, the air crackling with electricity, as if the universe itself was ready to spill its secrets. People gathered beneath the ominous clouds, their faces twisted in confusion and fear. Whispers spread like wildfire. 3 shocking revelations had been delivered, each one more unbelievable than the last. It felt like the end of the world was gnawing at their heels, pushing everyone to the edge. That feeling of something monumental about to unfold hung thick in the air. First, a man named Samuel, known for his ordinary life, claimed to have seen a luminous figure in his attic radiating warmth, yet casting an unsettling shadow. He recounted the vivid encounter with shaking hands. "He told me things about our lives." Samuel stammered as the crowd leaned in, hearts pounding like drums. "Divorces that never should be happened. Regrets we buried deep," and he said it all. The chilling echo of his revelation sent shivers down spines as hope and dread wrestled within each listener. Suddenly, a woman named Clara shrieked, breaking the growing tension. "I felt it too," she cried, eyes wide with terror. "I was driving home when I heard a voice. It warned me of a crash. I changed lanes just in time." Gasps rippled through the crowd, hands instinctively reaching for shoulders, clutching at the fragile thread connecting their sanity. They each looked around, searching for answers but only finding more questions swirling in the air, and just as the intensity peaked, a stranger walked up clad in dark clothing, with piercing eyes that seemed to look right through you. He raised a hand, signaling for silence. The crowd went still, a collective breath held tight as the air vibrated with suspense. "The last revelation is coming. But it will cost you something." His voice dripped with mystery, igniting fear and intrigue. The crowd leaned in, desperate for what came next. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." With the pulse of uncertainty thrumming in their veins, the crowd murmured amongst themselves, their eyes flitting nervously between one another. Would they dare to seek the truth of these shocking revelations? What was the cost of discovering the answers that lay hidden? As the stranger turned to leave, a heavy silence clung to the air. Not a single person moved. Fear and curiosity battled for dominance, setting the stage for a choice that would change everything. Would they follow him into the unknown? What lay ahead was a mystery they couldn't resist unraveling. The stranger paused, his back still turned to the crowd. The tension crackled like lightning, and a chill swept through those gathered. It felt as though time itself had stopped, each heartbeat thudding in sync with the unease in the air. The question lingered heavily: would anyone dare to step forward? After what felt like hours, a young man named Daniel broke free from the swarm of anxious murmurs. With determination burning in his eyes, he approached the stranger. The crowd parted like waves, curiosity piqued, eyes darting between them like a moth drawn to flame. "What's the cost?" Daniel asked, voice steady but a hint of tremor betraying his uncertainty. The stranger turned slowly, an enigmatic smile creeping across his lips, as if he held the keys to uncharted territories. "What you love most." He paused, letting his words hang in the thick fog of the sensation. "You must be willing to give it up." Gasps erupted from the crowd, a rising tide of disbelief and fear. What could that possibly mean? Anguished eyes glinted with questions as Daniel's face flickered with doubt. The possibility of losing what defined him was unbearable. Yet, a pulse of curiosity urged him to press on. "And if I do?" he challenged, voice barely above a whisper. "Only then will you be shown the true revelation," the stranger replied, voice smooth as silk yet carrying an undercurrent of danger. A vision that will alter the course of your life forever. Shouts erupted from the crowd. Daniel, don't do it. Clara shouted, fear etched across her features. We don't know what he really means. But something deep within Daniel stirred a tugging sensation at the core of his being. What did he truly hold dear? The memory of his little sister, battling an illness with incredible courage, surged forth. If it can save her, he murmured, almost to himself. The stranger's eyes gleamed with recognition as if he sensed the turmoil in Daniel's heart. Life demands sacrifices, young man. How far are you willing to go? The weight of the decision pressed down on Daniel, his breath coming quick and shallow. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook a low rumble that resonated in their bones, as the ominous clouds churned overhead, casting jagged shadows across their faces. What was that? Someone shrieked, eyes wide with terror, looking up as lightning cracked overhead, illuminating the stranger's figure momentarily. The air pulsed with energy, and then, just as suddenly, it was calm again. Every choice comes with consequences, the stranger said, his tone low and deliberate. But the truth can only set you free if you dare to embrace it. The crowd shared nervous glances, the fear swelling as if whispering secrets of impending doom. What if Daniel's choice could spark a chain that would change everything? Their hearts thudded in unison, tinged with a blend of hope and dread. As Daniel stood isolated, staring intensely at the stranger, realization began to dawn. He wasn't just any man, he was a harbinger of fate, and there was no turning back now. Suddenly, a blinding flash lit the sky, and the earth trembled violently beneath their feet. What is happening? A voice cried out, rising above the din. And just like that, a violent wind swept through the park, each gust howling with a raw urgency. A rustle of leaves, the snapping of branches echoed ominously as darkness pooled along the edges of their courage. In that tumultuous moment, the stranger leaned closer, eyes boring into Daniel's soul. Will you step into the unknown, or remain a prisoner of the familiar? Every second stretched, suffocating in its intensity, as the crowd held its breath, waiting for the choice that would send ripples through time itself. What revelation awaited them in the shadows of sacrifice? With a heart full of uncertainty and hope, Daniel took a hesitant step forward. The stranger's smile widened, and somewhere, thunder rumbled again, this time like a heartbeat, echoing their collective fate. But what if everything he believed was about to change? What if this moment revealed more than they were prepared for? The world around them began to shift, an invisible tide pulling Daniel closer to the stranger and a churning reality that felt thicker than the air. It was as if the very fabric of existence, woven tightly by routine, was unraveling at the seams. Don't! Clara shouted, her voice trembling with desperation. Think about your sister. Think about what you're doing. Her fear wrapped around him like a vice, squeezing tighter with every heartbeat, but Daniel felt another force pulling him, stronger than any anchor tied to the familiar. I'm trying to save her, he whispered, almost as if seeking comfort in the thought. Every choice weighs upon the heart, the stranger said, his voice barely more than a whisper, but it carried an echo that resonated in the souls of everyone present. The crowd was frozen, eyes wide, breaths held in anticipation of what might unfold. Then the air cracked, a fierce light illuminating the darkness like a brushstroke of chaos amidst uncertainty. A swirl of energy danced around Daniel and the stranger, tugging at Daniel's senses, shaking him to his core. The air shimmered, and for a fleeting second, images flooded his mind, visions of his sister smiling, laughter ringing clear like music, and then flickers of sorrow, her frail body shivering in pain. What do I have to give up? Daniel's voice wavered, torn between fear and unwavering belief. Was he truly ready to cross this line? Only that which you hold most dear, the stranger said, his eyes glinting with a piercing intensity that left Daniel breathless. The truth you seek lies beyond sacrifice. The wind howled, a fierce lament, and the crowd swayed like trees bending in a storm. Clara's quiet sobs broke through the noise, the sound piercing Daniel's heart. He turned to her, the warmth of her presence anchoring him, testing the pulse of their bond against the raging storm within him. but the stranger stepped forward, the chaos intensifying. "The choice is yours, Daniel," he called out, the volume building until it felt like thunder crackling overhead. "A chance to rewrite history. But choose wisely." And then it happened. In that moment, Daniel felt his heart pulse, raw and heavy, as visions rushed back, each more vivid than the last. His sister, her laughter fading, replaced with deep, heart-wrenching silence. He could feel the sickness seeping into their lives, choking their joy and wrapping it in shadows. Time twisted, and he glimpsed a future where despair ruled him, where he could do nothing but watch as she suffered. But what if he could change it? He inhaled sharply, heart pounding wildly as he felt a lightness, an odd sense of clarity amidst the chaos. Just as he opened his mouth to make his choice, the ground trembled once more, and shadows flickered in the corners of his vision, pulling his attention like a moth to a flame. "Daniel!" Clara screamed, her voice breaking through the veil of uncertainty. "Don't let him deceive you. This isn't just about you." But her words felt distant now, lost beneath the roar of thunder and the winds of fate. The stranger's gaze never wavered, coaxing him forward. "This is the moment of truth." With shaky hands, Daniel reached deep within himself, confronting all he valued. His breath quickened, every thought racing. What was the price of love? Just then, the clouds split open, an otherworldly light cascading down, wrapping around him like a cocoon, and for a heartbeat, he felt invincible. But was this truly the answer he sought, or the beginning of a nightmare? The stranger's smile widened, revealing depths to the darkness yet unveiled. As the storm raged, Daniel took one last look at Clara, the weight of his choice hanging heavily in the air like the quiet before a storm. "What if I lose everything?" he dared to ask, shaking with trepidation. "Only then can you find the truth," the stranger whispered, and with that, the winds rushed forward, enveloping them all in a blinding flash of blinding light. When reality settled again, Daniel found himself alone on a darkened path. The echoes of frantic voices faded behind him, away from the choice he had just made. And then came the question that rocked his very soul: what had he truly sacrificed? As the surroundings shifted and unfolded into the unknown, so too did the shadows of his decision linger in the iridescent glow of what lay ahead. With each step, he could only wonder, was he prepared for the revelations that awaited him? The path stretched infinitely before him, a winding shadow laden with the weight of uncertainty. The air was thick with a pulse of energy, so tangible it felt like it could be sliced with a knife. Daniel's heart raced, a relentless drum heralding the chaos of choice. He stood there, alone, isolated in a universe that pulsed with unseen forces. The silence buzzed, suffocating him, every breath echoing back his fears. He could still hear Clara's desperate cries, the tremor in her voice like a haunting melody that chased him down the path. "What have I done?" he murmured to himself, glancing around as if the weight of his choice could be spied in the folds of darkness. Then, right before him, a shimmer broke through the dense fog of night, a silhouette emerging from the haze. Daniel, it was a familiar voice, Granny's, so warm and fraught with love, yet wrapped in a chill that sent shivers down his spine. "Granny?" he barely managed, his throat tightening. "What are you doing here?" But as he spoke, shadows latched onto her figure, pulling her further into obscurity, her warmth fading like fleeting smoke. "I'm here to guide you," she said, a mix of sorrow and strength woven into her tone. "But the path you've chosen has consequences, Daniel. You've delved into a realm where sacrifices breathe life into dreams, but they also extract a heavy toll." All at once, the ground shook beneath him, a violent tremor that sent him to his knees. The echoes of the storm that had just surrounded him reverberated through the earth, relentless and dark. "No! This isn't what I wanted," he shouted, crawling toward her, desperate to seize the comfort of her presence. "Do you wish to save her?" Granny asked, her gaze piercing through the shadows surrounding them. "You must understand, every action has a reaction. A choice made here cannot be undone without ramifications far beyond your desires." The air crackled again, and Daniel felt an invisible pull, a yearning that urged him forward. He could feel it, his sister, like a siren's song, reaching out from the abyss. "I can't let her suffer," he gasped, tears brimming in his eyes. "What must I do?" Granny's expression softened, but the shadows around her tightened their grip. "You must confront the darkness that lies within you. Only then will you understand what needs to be sacrificed truly." In that moment of realization, the world around him exploded in a cascade of colors, shapes, and sounds. Visions surged before his eyes, his sister shrieking in pain, her heart breaking, and deep, hopeless shadows curling around her, tugging her further away from him. He felt a pang deep in his chest, as if each beat echoed the agony she endured. "No!" he screamed. "I will do anything. Show me." And the shadows danced, morphing into images, flickers of moments long forgotten. His childhood, filled with laughter, warmth, and togetherness, began to unravel before him. Every cherished memory, every joy threatened to dissipate into the void. "Your sister's suffering is intertwined with your fate," Granny warned, her voice fading against the whirlwind vortex that surrounded him. "What will you sacrifice?" His breath quickened as realization crashed over him. A momentary flash pierced his heart, a vision of Clara in despair, a darkness wrapped around her like chains. He understood now, this was a trade-off, a scale of love weighted by grief. Then the shadows deepened, a realm of impossible choices looming above him, dark and oppressive. "The darkness won't let you decide freely, Daniel." Granny's voice echoed, but it sounded distant, like a memory fading into mist. "Daniel." The urgency of Clara's voice sliced through the chaos, echoing in the depths of his mind like a prayer. With trembling resolve, he made a step forward, one foot on the line between light and shadow. "I'll face this," he declared, feeling the heat of determination surge within him. "I'll fight for her, for us." Just as he committed to the path ahead, the shadows loomed menacingly, ready to consume him whole. What awaited him on the other side? Was he prepared to unravel the very essence of his being for the sister who meant everything to him? And as he stumbled forward into the abyss, fate whispered its chilling secret: would love be enough to guide him through? The shadows swallowed him whole, thick and all-consuming, wrapping around him like a vice. Daniel felt the chill pierce his bones, a stark contrast to the warmth of the memories that flickered like dying stars in his mind. He gasped, calling out for Clara, but the sound swallowed in the infinite dark. "Focus!" a voice commanded, sharp and clear like crystal glass shattering in silence. Daniel jerked, his instincts screaming to react. From the murky depths, another figure emerged, silhouetted against the smog, tall and intimidating. It was him, or at least, it felt like a twisted version of him. The faceless specter mirrored his own torment, eyes hollow and sunken, an embodiment of the fears he had buried deep within. "You think you can fight this?" The figure sneered, its voice slick with disdain. "You think your fragile love is a shield against the darkness? You're nothing but a puppet dancing to the strings of fate." "No. I'm here to save her," Daniel protested, his heart pounding in his chest like a caged animal desperate to escape. "I won't back down." "Oh really?" The shadow laughed, a sound that sent shivers racing down Daniel's spine. "You don't even know what you're giving up. Your love is only the beginning. Sacrifices demand more than mere feelings, they demand the very essence of who you are." The ground trembled beneath him again, and memories surged like a torrent. Each image, every flicker of his life, the laughter, the tears, the moments shared with Clara blended together until he couldn't distinguish them from the shadows that clouded his thoughts. "Stop!" he cried, clenching his fists. "I won't let you take anything from me. Do you think you have a choice?" The specter stepped closer, a cloud of darkness swirling around it, threatening to encroach upon Daniel. "There's a part of you lurking in the periphery, part of you that craves pain, that feeds on the darkness. And it will stop at nothing to claim what it wants." Daniel's breath hitched, heart racing. Memories clashed painfully in his mind the moment he abandoned Clara during the fight, the guilt that gnawed at him like hungry wolves. No, that's not me. He shook his head violently, desperation clawing at his insides. But doubt settled deep in the pit of his stomach, growing like a vine choking out the light. You can't hide from the truth, the shadow hissed, inching closer, its breath cold and rancid. You've made your bed, and now, it's time to lie in it. With a surge of strength, Daniel lunged forward, attempting to push the figure away. But as he touched it, the shadows wrapped tighter around him, deeper than he had ever imagined. Visions crashed upon him. Clara, chained and screaming, her eyes wide with fear and helplessness. You need to choose, Daniel. She echoed, drowning in a sea of darkness. His resolve wobbled, but anger ignited within. You won't take her from me. He shouted, feeling the heat rise in his chest. I will find a way. Find a way? The shadow grinned, revealing teeth that dripped with malice. What if the cost is your own soul? If you save her, you may lose everything that makes you whole, a fate worse than death. The words punched him in the gut, a cruel reminder of the price of love. But in the chaos of conflicting emotions, a flicker of clarity emerged. Love could be powerful, unstoppable, and he was willing to fight if it meant recovering Clara. I'll take that risk, Daniel breathed, his voice steady and fierce. For her, I would sacrifice it all. With that declaration, the landscape shifted. The shadows recoiled, pulsating as if repulsed by his sheer will. They twisted and howled around him, threatening to spiral out of control. Suddenly, a blinding light pierced through the fog, illuminating the darkness. Shattered remnants of guilt and fear flickered in its glow as the spectre's laughter morphed into an anguished wail. You fool! You have no idea what you're about to unleash. As clarity struck, Daniel felt a pull to move toward the light, the veil of darkness lifting ever so slightly. But just as he took a step forward, the ground trembled violently, and a voice, raw and poignant, howled from the deep. You want to save her? It bellowed, mingling with the chaos around him. Then prepare to surrender everything you ever knew about love. A new decision loomed ahead, a precipice on the horizon. The air crackled with energy, and Daniel's heart surged. Was he ready for the ultimate sacrifice? With courage swelling in his chest, he prepared to embrace the darkness within him to save Clara. What new depths of despair and revelation awaited him? Would he rise or fall in the face of the unimaginable? The ground shook violently, sending tremors through Daniel's legs, and for a moment, he lost his balance. He stumbled, bracing himself against the undefined terrain as shadows congealed around him like a living entity. The coldness seeped deeper into his bones, but he stood firm, the weight of determination rooted in his chest. Prepare to surrender everything you ever knew about love. The voice echoed again, and the very air turned electric, prickling his skin. He clenched his fists, focusing on the light that flickered in the distance, a beacon amidst the chaos. Daniel inhaled deeply, grounding himself, drawing from the well of emotion that surged within him. I won't let fear dictate who I am. He shouted, the words bursting forth with fierce defiance. The dark figure shimmered, its form entangling with the shadows like it was pulling itself together, a grotesque puppet weaving its sinister web. You underestimate the depth of your choices, Daniel. The specter's voice was smoother now, oily, wrapping around him like a serpent. You cling to hope like a child believes in fairy tales, but there's no happy ending here. Only pain. His heart raced, a wild drumbeat thudding against his ribs, but with every ounce of fear, a spark of clarity ignited. Clara deserves better than this. I will not let her suffer, not again. The words broke free, filled with raw, unyielding strength that echoed in the abyss around him. Very well, the shadow hissed, dark energy pulsating like a heartbeat. If it is pain you seek, pain you shall receive. Are you prepared for the cost of your foolish ambition? The ground beneath Daniel's feet split open, revealing a chasm of swirling darkness. Voices clamored from the depths, endless whispers of past regrets and loss. Each utterance threatened to pull him under a cacophony of failure. Every moment he hadn't stepped up for Clara, every choice he'd made that led to this abyss. It struck him hard, a wave of sorrow crashing over him, and he felt himself being drawn closer to that terrible void. "Daniel! Help me!" Clara's voice broke through the noise, clear and urgent. It cut through the darkness like a knife, shaking him from his paralyzing despair. "Clara!" He screamed her name, desperation flooding his veins. He couldn't lose her. "Not now. I'm coming." With renewed purpose, he leapt toward the glowing light, fighting against the dark forces that twisted around him, trying to drag him away from his goal. Every inch toward Clara felt like a battle, the shadows clawing at his body, threatening to engulf him. He could feel the darkness biting at the edges of his mind, dredging up every fear, every doubt. "What will you give up?" The question reverberated in his thoughts, insidious. But he couldn't falter, he had suffered enough. He would face whatever truth lay beyond the light. As he pulled himself through, his surroundings transformed. The shadows relinquished their grip, shifting into a shimmering veil that draped around him, illuminating a new world, a twisted reflection of his own. In this realm, the air smelled of lilacs and warmth, yet the weight of melancholy still lingered, a reminder of everything lost. Clara stood before him, a lilting silhouette beneath the glow of a crimson moon, her expression a mixture of fear and hope. "Daniel, is that really you?" she whispered, the gentle lilt of her voice stirring a tempest of emotions within him. "Yes. I'm here. I'll save you." But Clara's gaze faltered, as if something deeper lay beneath her fragile hope. "Do you understand the price?" she asked, her voice trembling. "You have to be ready to lose everything, even us." The shadows writhed around them, the specter re-emerging, gnashing its teeth, hungry for the sacrifice that loomed ahead. "Choose wisely, Daniel," it taunted, a malevolent glee shimmering in its voice. "This is not just about her. It's about you as well. Are you truly ready to pay the price of salvation?" With Clara's gaze locked on his, uncertainty flickered in his chest like a dying ember. He faced the darkness that threatened to consume him and the echoes of his past whispering for mercy. What would he risk to save her? And at what cost? The moment stretched out, heavy with tension, and the air crackled with the weight of impending choices. Would he summon the strength to face the shadowed depths to rescue Clara, or would this plunge them both into an abyss from which neither could return? "Get ready." Clara's voice rang with urgency, but Daniel felt that urgency slipping as uncertainty tightened its grip around him. The shadows twisted, swirling like dark smoke, and the laughing specter loomed larger, its visage becoming increasingly grotesque. "What will it be, Daniel?" it hissed, the words dripping with malice. "Will you cling to your delusions of love, or will you sacrifice it all?" Daniel's heart thudded against his ribcage. The price? It hung in the air, a reminder of everything he held dear. Could he bear to lose Clara, not just her presence, but the joy she brought into his life? "Look around you," the specter sneered, gesturing to the distorted world shimmering at the edges of his vision. "Everything you hold dear is already fading. Your memories, your connections, they weaken under the weight of your decision. What is love without sacrifice?" A chill swept through him. The shadows tugged at the fringes of his mind, whispering regrets and fears from the past. What if he failed her again? What if his love wasn't enough to protect her? He fought against the despair rising in him, but the pull was strong. "I can't lose her," he whispered, shaking his head as tears threatened to spill. "I won't allow it." Clara stepped forward, her presence a warm light amid the chilling darkness. "Daniel, you have to see the truth. Remember what we said about facing our fears together? You're not alone in this." Her eyes sparkled with a glimmer of hope, but he sensed a hidden sorrow behind that fragility. For every step he took toward her warmth, another shadow clawed at his resolve, dragging him back toward the icy chasm. Then tell me, Clara. What must I sacrifice? The question rolled off his tongue like a desperate plea. I'll do anything. The spectre laughed, a sound that echoed like nails on a chalkboard. Anything? Are you sure that your love is worth the horrors it could unleash? Would you sacrifice your own existence for hers? A cold dread washed over him. He was caught in a web, and every strand pointed to painful truths he wasn't ready to confront. But Clara's eyes shone like a beacon, filled with a fierce determination. Daniel, together we can find a way, she insisted, her voice steady but laced with urgency. You have to believe in us. You have to trust that love can conquer all even if it means fighting the shadows. The spectre roared with a mixture of rage and hysteria, darkness coiling tighter around him. You think love is a weapon? It's a curse. Are you prepared to fight not just for survival but for the very essence of who you are? This is not a fairy tale, Daniel. You risk losing your soul. His soul. The weight of the spectre's words began to anchor him deeper into the chaos. As the cavern of shadows threatened to close in once more, he drew a sharp breath, feeling the resolve ignite in his chest. I refuse to let go of love. Clara, stay with me. And then, as if in answer to his declaration, the shadows shrieked, a deafening cacophony of loss swirling around him, pulling at his heart with relentless force. The world around them began to shimmer, the boundaries of reality warping in response to the strength of their conviction. Hold on. Clara shouted, urgency bubbling in her voice, but just then, a powerful blast erupted from the depths of darkness, and the very fabric of the twisted world tore apart. Light and shadows collided, creating an inferno of chaos as Daniel felt himself being ripped away from Clara, the ground crumbling beneath his feet. Daniel! Her voice reached him through the whirlwind, filled with unyielding strength. Clara! But he could barely hold on as everything began to unravel. With the fiery chaos swirling, he found himself cast into an uncertain void, leaving him to question his choices, his love, and every sacrifice yet to come. Had he chosen wrong? And what fate awaited them both as darkness encroached again, threatening to consume everything? As the last vestige of light flickered in the distance, that haunting question echoed in his mind, leaving him to wonder, would he emerge from this darkness, or had he lost Clara forever? Daniel tumbled through a shifting landscape, a swirling void where light and shadow fought for dominance. He gasped for breath, the air was thick, almost solid, compressing his chest as flashes of Clara's face flickered in his mind. Her warmth, her laughter, the fire of their love, it all shimmered right before him, just out of reach. Clara! He shouted into the emptiness, but only his voice echoed back, swallowed by the oppressive dark. Cold fear gripped him. What had he done? Had his desperate plea only driven them further apart? Panic surged like a raging river. He forced himself to push it down. He concentrated, picturing Clara. Her fierce spirit, her unwavering strength. If they could just find each other again, maybe together they could beat the shadows. Around him, the void shifted. Dull whispers of doubt clawed at him, threatening to drag him back into despair. You think love can save you? The spectre's voice slithered through the darkness, mocking him. You're merely a flicker in an eternal night. What good is your love among the shadows? No! Daniel cried, shaking off the whispers. Love is the reason I fight. Clara taught me that. I want to let you take her. With that oath, the air crackled, a surge of energy bursting within him. Suddenly, bright light exploded, breaking the darkness like a thunderclap. He found himself standing on a new plane, vibrant and surreal, a landscape woven of dazzling colors and deep shadows where the rules of reality seemed altered, but he was alone. And the silence pressed in, thick enough to suffocate. Clara! He called again, his heart racing. Then, something flickered in the distance. A figure shimmered, wavering at the edge of his vision. Daniel! The voice was soft yet insistent, laced with urgency. As he stepped forward, the figure solidified into Clara. She was there. Relief washed over him like cool rain. He stepped closer, but she remained a few feet away, caught in an unseen web, a faint shimmer wrapping around her like spinning vines. Clara. Panic surged again. What is holding you back? I can feel it, Daniel, she replied, her voice strong despite the distance. There's south darkness in this place, and it feeds on doubt and fear. We have to face it together. It's the only way. The shadows writhed around them, their guttural whispers reaching a crescendo. It was a cacophony of everything that haunted them, regrets, fears, and what-ifs that had plagued Daniel all his life. Remember what you sacrificed. A chilling voice sneered, and the spectre-s shape flickered in the air, menacing and mocking. You think it's just shadows? This is your past, your failures. It's all here, Daniel. A knot formed in his stomach. He felt the weight of every moment he tried to forget, the times he failed Clara, the moments he hesitated. The darkest parts of himself, all laid bare. You cannot let it define you. Clara cried, her eyes fierce with determination. You are not just your past. You will not be trapped here. He took a deep breath. The love he felt for Clara, the connection they shared, fueled his resolve. I will fight back. I refuse to let these memories bind me. With that, he steeled himself and stepped forward, battling against the chaos spiraling around them. A blinding light surged from his core, pushing back the shadows, but the spectre simply leered, its voice a haunting melody. Foolish boy. Love is nothing but a fleeting hope. You cannot escape your fate. But as the spectre-s words filled the air, Clara shouted, we can rewrite our fate. Together. The energy surged between them, intertwining like a dazzling braid of light. The shadows flickered, raised in fury as Daniel and Clara merged their wills. He felt the shadows pull and twist, but with every heartbeat, their combined light grew brighter. Stay close. He urged. We'll break this darkness. Suddenly, the shadows shrieked, the sound warping into a discordant wail, and the world around them began to splinter again. Daniel. Clara's voice cut through as the space warped. What if our love isn't enough? The question rang loud in his ears, mingling with the spectre-s fury as everything began to unravel once more. Clara, but before he could finish, the ground collapsed sideways, plunging them into another violent darkness. The last thought echoed in Daniel's mind, was love truly enough to face this chaotic world, or was the ultimate sacrifice still ahead? The darkness engulfed Daniel with a silence that tore at his sanity. Air rushed past him as they fell, a dizzying spiral that felt endless yet agonizingly real. He reached out for Clara, but the void swallowed him whole, scattering their light like ashes in a storm. Then, with a jarring thud, he landed harshly on cold stone. His breath came in sharp gasps, the shock of impact jolting him back to clarity. He lay still for a moment, listening. Where was Clara? The familiar weight of dread returned, constricting his chest. Clara! He shouted, his voice raw and echoing. The space around him was dim and cavernous, flickering shadows dancing on walls he couldn't see. He struggled to sit up, his heart pounding like a war drum, rattling against his ribs. Daniel? Her voice, thin and distant, sliced through the unease. Clara! Where are you? He jumped to his feet, scanning the dimness, searching for her face. The shadows were growing thicker, crawling up from the corners, reaching for him. Here. Her voice was clearer now, coming from a narrow tunnel at the edge of this stony abyss. Anxiety twisted his gut as he rushed toward it. But as he moved, the shadows hissed at him, wrapping around his ankles like serpents, pulling him back with a sinister grip. Don't resist, Daniel, a sinister voice hissed, reverberating through the cavern. It was the spectre, its presence palpable in the oppressive darkness. Embrace it. This is what you've always feared. Shut up. He shouted, fighting against the shadows. Clara's voice called again, more insistent, bringing him back from the brink of despair. Daniel, please. I need you. With renewed urgency, he shoved his foot against the stone, summoning every ounce of strength. Straining against the pull, he hurled himself toward the tunnel. The shadows shrieked in outrage, clawing at him, but he broke free, diving into the narrow passage. The tunnel twisted sharply, then opened into a chamber that radiated an eerie glow. Clara stood in the center, her expression a mixture of hope and fear. Around her, radiant light battled the darkness, but it flickered as if struggling to hold its ground. Daniel, we have to stabilize it. She cried. What do you mean? He rushed to her side, and the warmth of her presence gave him strength. The darkness thrives on our doubts. We must face our fears together. Clara placed her hand on his chest, her eyes locking onto his. We need to believe in ourselves. He nodded, but the specter loomed, forming in the shadows behind them. You think you can defeat me? It sneered, slithering closer. You cannot wish away your failures. Every loss you've suffered is here with you now. You carry the weight of those mistakes. The specter waved a skeletal hand, and images exploded in Daniel's mind, each regret, every time he faltered, moments when he let Clara down. They swirled vividly, distorting reality like a grotesque tapestry of his shortcomings. Don't let it control you. Clara cried, reaching for him. Their hands met, electricity coursing through the connection. He felt her strength, her love, a beacon illuminating his darkest corners. We can reshape this. With a fierce shout, they focused on their love, the pure essence of what had always drawn them together. The light between them intensified, reverberating against the darkness, battling against the tinges of despair that threatened to pull them under. I am not my failures. Daniel shouted, voice rising. We are not bound by this darkness. The shadows recoiled, screeching as they tried to absorb the light, but the bond of their love grew stronger, and the radiance began to push back, shattering the creeping gloom. We can do this. Clara urged, determination blazing in her eyes. Then, as if feeding off their collective belief, a surge of light erupted. The specter shrieked, collapsing under its force as it began to disintegrate into the very shadows from which it was born, but before fully dissipating, it hissed one final warning. You can win this battle, but the war is far from over. Daniel felt the ground shake, intermingling light and shadow in chaos as the chamber began to crumble around them. Clara! He shouted, fear gripping him tightly again. What now? What's next? The last fragments of darkness swirled around them, and the portal they created pulsed with energy, rippling, inviting, threatening. Together! Clara shouted fiercely. We move forward no matter what. And without another hesitation, they leaped into the unknown, hands clasped tight, hearts racing as the shadows howled behind them. The next chapter awaited, but what horrors or wonders would they face? Would the flicker of hope endure, or would the darkness reclaim what it believed belonged to it? The unknown enveloped Daniel and Clara like a blanket of twilight, sinking and rising in waves. They landed softly atop a grassy knoll beneath a sky painted with the vibrant colors of dawn, a stark contrast to the chaos they just left behind. The air felt different here, lighter, infused with warmth and possibility. Hope bloomed within Daniel's chest, mingling with the remnants of fear still lingering from their harrowing ordeal. Where are we? Clara asked, gazing around in awe. The world felt alive, each blade of grass shimmering as if imbued with stories yet to unfold. I think we're in a new place, a second chance, Daniel replied, feeling the edges of his heart begin to heal. The sky glowed like a promise, stretching wide and open ahead of them. But shadowed memories still echoed in his mind, reminders of sacrifices made and shadows faced. Then, just beyond the knoll, they spotted figures emerging, a mix of familiar and strange faces, all lined up like a choir of souls. As they came closer, Daniel recognized the figures of his past, the friends and family he never truly appreciated, moments frozen in time, both joyful and regret-laden. They waved, smiling gently, but shadows flickered behind them as if remnants of the torment they had endured lingered close by. Daniel's heart thudded heavily. "Do you see them?" he whispered to Clara, his voice trembling with uncertainty. "How can we move forward when our past is so ingrained?" Clara squeezed his hand tight, grounding him. "It's not just about seeing them, Daniel. It's about understanding. We faced our fears and came out stronger. Now we have a chance to learn from them. Our love has the power to rewrite our story." Inspired by her words, courage thrummed through Daniel. He took a step toward the gathering of faces. "I'm here," he called, his voice ringing clear, strong as he fought through the shadow of his doubt. "I'm ready to learn." A gentle laughter echoed from the figures, easing the heaviness in his heart. One familiar face, his granny, stepped forward, but instead of being eclipsed by shadows, she glowed with the warmth of compassion. "It's good to see you, Daniel," she said, her voice nurturing. "You've chosen to confront your past. That's brave." Daniel swallowed hard, the lump in his throat almost choking him. "Can I make amends?" he asked, vulnerability creeping into his voice. "Of course," Granny replied, "but the first step is forgiveness for yourself and for those you've hurt." As she spoke, Daniel felt the weight of regret pooling around his feet, anchoring his spirit in uncertainty. "I'm sorry," he whispered, tears stinging his eyes. "For everything, the moments I failed you, for holding on to fear instead of love." The words spilled from his heart, each one striking a chord deep within. The figures nodded, accepting his apology, releasing him from the pain he had carried for too long. An electric current of forgiveness zipped through the air, invigorating him. Clara joined him at his side, her hand warm and steady. "You've done the hardest part, Daniel," she said, her voice soft yet firm. "Now it's about moving forward together." Suddenly, the gentle breeze shifted, and the colors around them brightened, transforming into a burst of radiance. The land responded, the grass danced under their feet, flowers bloomed like fireworks in celebration, and the shadows that once nipped at their heels shrank away into nothingness. The world around them felt alive, echoing the new promise they had forged together, and with that, the reality shifted, the landscape morphing into a vibrant place where hope thrived. This was their beginning, a blank canvas painted bright with love and resilience. "Can we really do this?" Daniel asked, looking into Clara's eyes, full of faith. "We already have," she replied, and they took their first definitive step forward into their new dawn, the past behind them, a mix of hard lessons learned and love born anew. As light poured over them, illuminating everything in its path, Daniel felt the weight of the shadows lift at last. The spectre's voice echoed faintly in the distance, reminding him of their struggles, but it faded like mist in the sun's embrace. Together, they had reached this point, and together, they would write their next chapter. Whatever was to come, they would face it side by side, fueled by the love that had not only bound them but had also set them free, and as they moved into the bright horizon, they would cherish not just the victories but also the lessons learned along the way. Behind them, the whispers of the past melted into their own chorus, a symphony of hope that only they could compose. At that moment, the certainty that they had overcome their dark battle resonated. "Now, before you go on with your day, I need you to do something huge. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel, or you risk missing out on the next exclusive stories that will blow your mind. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support is crucial. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this finale. I want to hear from everyone, and don't wait even one more second to share this story with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. Every action you take helps this community grow stronger, and only true fans understand the importance of rallying together.